Well, Nathan, other than obviously a win this week, what would you like to see from your team?
A win would be great. We just want to be playing the football that we've displayed and practiced over pre-season. We've worked on improving our game, and there's some elements that we saw last week, and there's some that we didn't. So we definitely love to control the game a little bit better than we did last week. All credit to Geelong, but we come up against a pretty handy opposition. But largely we'll be judging ourselves on the type of footy that we're able to display and how we feel, how close we feel to that type of football once we look at review.
I know coaches don't necessarily like to look too far back, but that preliminary final, how much does that sort of stick in the mind, given it was such a big occasion and you guys got the job done? Yeah,
look, it really is. That's last year, and we were asked about the grand final all off season. You get to round one, and you think that you get the chance to jump back into 2019, and we'll get the questions about the prelim now, and we'll get the questions about grand final next week. There's no doubt about that, but they're largely irrelevant. Those games have been run and won, and we're well and truly into season 2019 now. There's round one always throws up some different results. It always puts people back in their seat that think that things are going to be one way or another, and have had their hearts set on one outcome. The reality is that this is an elite competition. You need to be at the top of your game all the time. You need to be continually improving. That's definitely been our mindset and our intention. We said last year at this time of year that we'll let our footy do the talking, and we need to do that. None of the words that you hear from me here or in response to a performance are going to really mean anything. All that matters is what we do on game day, and we believe we're in decent nick. We believe we're in good shape. We believe we're more than capable, but we've got to display that, and we get another chance against Richmond.
Max, any theories on why the skills weren't up to the usual high standard last week? Is it, I suppose, a round one rust?
I think across the competition we saw it largely, and our game was probably one of the more contested games of footy across the round. That's no excuse. We would have liked to have been cleaner with the ball, but whilst that may have won us the game if we'd have taken our chances, I'm sure Geelong would feel the same on the other end of the bargain. Our greater concern is our general shape and capacity to impose our brand of football on the opposition, and we weren't able to do that last week, and we need to get cracking with that.
So across the two, Dale, say in round one, I think the half-back turnovers are really high. Look at the numbers. How do you solve that?
Well, we were high last year as well. I think we were bottom four for that last year. So it's not something that's fatal. We have played some good football with it because there's a bit of risk reward with that. We can play very safe, but we like to take the game on. We like to shift the ball, and we like to take risks with our ball movement. We've always trod that fine line. Last week, and potentially through the pre-season, I highlighted it after the game because it was relatively costly. Our skill errors in the back half, as well as our lack of ability to finish. But as I said, that's not the primary focus going into this game. We think that'll come about. The cleaner use, the sharing of the ball, the capacity to finish will come about. But we just need to get our hands dirty. We're looking forward to getting our hands dirty, winning more of the ball in tight, controlling more field position, and that's definitely not something that we've seen through pre-season and round one.
So just on that, again, Richmond, I think best in the comp at forcing half-back turnovers. Do you back them in again, or do you have to tighten, go a little bit safer this week because of the opposition?
They were relatively low last week, so we can't say they're the best in the comp. But over 2 years, well, it depends. Really, what sort of time frame you're looking at, you can mount any argument that you wish. But for us, we are, and for most teams, and for people that are observing, we're still trying to get an understanding of where things are going to settle in 2019, and that's our performance and our capacity to play the way we want to play against our opponent week in, week out will settle on a trend that we can go to. As I said, for us, our ball use is generally a strength and has been for the better part of the last 18 months. But our ball use comes off the back of our shape, the way we set up the field, and mostly off our contests. So we're not under any illusions around where our priorities lie. And there's some things that we need to get sorted before we even consider how we're using the ball.
Richmond very much a team defence, as we've sort of discussed, but no Alex Rance, obviously. Does it change much from your perspective? It was a real area of strength for you in the prelim. Do you think it's even more so now that he's not there?
Look, it changes a lot because he's one of the better. Well, he's one of the best defenders in the competition, one of the best players in the competition. So it does change quite a bit, and it probably makes Richmond a little less predictable. They've been one of the more predictable sides over the last couple of years. They have a real belief in the way they play. No one's ever surprised about what they roll out. It's just that they're so good at it that that's very hard to stop or to get on top of. So when an Alex Rance goes down, and it's a terrible shame for the competition and for Richmond clearly, it probably makes it a little. We're not exactly sure who the seventh defender will be, who will come in to replace that role. We'll have a better idea once team selection comes out, but there's no doubt that it does provide a point of difference to this contest compared to other times we've played them. I've got no doubt that it galvanised the Tigers boys as well. We were in similar situations last year, and you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of your opportunities to roll out when a teammate that you love and care for so much hasn't got that capacity. So how it affects the contest is yet to be seen, but we definitely won't be taking the Tigers any lighter because Alex won't be playing.
What's the opportunity to exploit the Bucks with Rance not there?
Oh, you might think that they aerially they might be more gettable sort of in the front half, but that's speculation. Asprey, Vlosten, Grimes, very strong aerial players, and there's no doubt that Richmond's greatest form of defence has been stopping it from even getting to that part of the field. So their pressure at the ball is and their hunt is very strong. But there's no surprises there. When you're a good side, there's never any surprise. The opposition are never surprised about what you're going to face. The challenge isn't knowing what's coming. The challenge is actually structuring up and having the capacity to be able to buffer it first and then to be able to take advantage of it the other way. And that's our challenge. It's been every team's challenge in the competition over the last couple of years, because Richmond have clearly been consistently the best side over the last 2 seasons minimum, and they've proven it over a long period of time. So it's a great challenge for us.
Sorry, at the other end of the ground is a good challenge for the new combination, Darcy and Ruffy against Lynch and Reroll as well.
Yeah, and that's still yet to be seen. If we look at round one, their talls kicked a lot of goals. Lynch, Nankervis, Bolter, and clearly Jack had a big week and will be better rested and prepared for this week. And so their tall players, at and forward of the ball will be a real challenge and a point of difference, because they're very tall or very small and sharp at ground level. We've got a challenge there, but we believe that we've got the mix to be able to cater for any forward setup against any opposition. But we'll be tested, and we've got a job to do there.
Lyndon Dunn, chance to play?
Yeah, he'll play in the VFL this week, so it's a really positive bit of news for us. 9 months of recovery and rehab, and has pushed very hard through pre-season to get himself up as early as he possibly can. The rehab guys have only given him the green light when he's passed every test with flying colours, and he's done that. So he'll get over a half of VFL time this week, and be looking to push his claims in the next month or so.
How did Jamie Elliott pull up after last
No,
week?
Jamie was good. Yeah, he's obviously started the game like a bomb and has had a really gradual and steady return to fitness first, and then to senior football. We'd like to see that continue, and he's really he's elated really to have this opportunity to be on top of the ground and playing footy with his being where he wants to be again. But it's early days, and he should have a lot of opportunity to build on the work he's put in over pre-season.
Any update on Reid and Adams? No?
Reid's travelling really well. Probably a couple of weeks from VFL still, or from return to play. And Tay saw the surgeon during the week, and I think he's another 2 weeks away from being available for selection.
I'm sure Damien Hardwick will speak tomorrow and say the prelim final last year isn't going to have a bearing on this year. But I mean, human nature and human psychology would suggest that they're going to come in and have that in the back of their minds.
You want to go again on that one? I know what the lead wants to be, don't I? I'm sure Damien will be asked that, and I'm sure that he'll say exactly what I'm going to say, is that nothing that's happened before and nothing that happens after is going to influence this contest, other than what happens between the first and last sirens. We respect Richmond as a football team. We were wrapped with our capacity to execute our plans last year, just as they would have been wrapped to execute their plans the 2 games that they beat us in the home and away last year. So it was 1 and 2, 2-1 Richmond's way in our 3 contests last year. This is the first contest of 2019, and if we can get it in the positive side of the ledger, we'll take that. But it's going to take a fair bit of grunt and a fair bit of work.
Only one game last week, but Brodie Grundy perhaps not to his usual high standard. Do you think that was a result of the slower pre-season? I guess he had his concerns, or do you think it's just one game of footy and he'll respond?
I think it's just one game of footy and he'll respond.
What was the feedback from the players and the boards? Did they get the message across that they were?
I think we're not using them. So I think we're one of the few clubs that haven't accessed it at this point. I look at it and I think it probably adds a bit more confusion than potentially what it solves. We will keep that. We're constantly having dialogue with our players around what information that they would need when they're out in the field, or where some potential blind spots are. But at this point, outside of our players knowing, when there's 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go at the end of a quarter, there's nothing that we feel that we can't communicate through our rotations at this stage.
As a coach, what do you make of seeing the speed signs go up? And do you have a fair idea what might mean?
It probably gives you a little bit of a read on what other clubs are doing at different stages of the game, and you marry that up with vision, and it gives you a little bit more understanding about what they're trying to achieve. But really, I mean, whilst it's a little bit of a quirk, and it has its role, there's no doubt that for the right situation that it is appropriate and effective. Eventually, it all sort of settles back to the median, and we all have an understanding of how each other play. It's just how well you're able to execute on the day to be able to put your plans in place and to be able to prevent the opposition from doing theirs.
Sire and Greenwood, are they in the mix likely?
Sire, Rupert Wills is starting to get back up to speed, performed really well last week. Levi clearly as a carryover didn't play at all last week, so will be in the mix for us. Flynn Appleby had a really good game in the 2s. And we had some guys, despite the loss, we had some guys that put their hand up that have been on the fringe that have played some pretty good footy over the pre-season. So still a fair bit of competition for spots, and we'll be picking clearly the best 22 to get the job done on Thursday.
Do you bring Levi in for potentially Roland Dusty, which he's done before, or do you back your your mids to kind of get the job done?
Yeah, we'll look at it. I think we were beaten in the midfield last week, so that's a consideration for us. You can look at all the names and the ratings from years gone past as much as you like. Midfields that get the job done are the ones that are prepared to get their hands dirty and work the hardest both ways. And we've been a really good team, a really good club at doing that in recent times. It wasn't a highlight of our performance in round one, and we got shown up in that regard, so we've got some work to do there.
Did they put their hand up themselves, the midfield group, or was that something that kind of was impressed on them?
Oh, look, I think you asked me a question about the midfield. I think it's across the board, but the midfield are part of that, and they get first access to the ball at centre bounce and at stoppage, and they really can drive our capacity to impose our game style on the opposition. So. And we've got a fair few leaders in there, so too many words. We just want to get to Thursday.
Thanks.
Cheers.